Kieran Doherty has an extensive personal collection of Stonehenge pictures after covering the summer and winter solstice, snow-covered days, and meteor showers. He arrived at 10 p.m. the night of the meteor showers and set up his tripod beside 3 security guards. He had 3 torches illuminating the stones so he could actually focus on them, but it was the security guards' flashlights that were causing the problem. Using an exposure of 6 minutes to capture the light from the sky and the trails of the meteors, these 5-minute bursts of artificial light wasn't helping matters. Finally, at 3 a.m., with the guards keeping their lights off for a final 20-minute exposure, Kieran achieved the desired effect with the meteors and headed home. It's one of the world's largest humanitarian crises of recent years. Pakistan's floods began over a month ago and submerged a fifth of the country. The floods have killed more than 1,000 people, left at least 4 million homeless, and more than 15 million people have been affected. The international community has pitched in with the relief efforts, but the floods have inundated an area the size of Italy, and aid workers have struggled to respond to the needs of millions of people who urgently need clean water, food, shelter, and medical assistance. Idris Latif started his coverage of Pakistan's catastrophic floods on July 30th. Idris made this image from an army helicopter distributing supplies while reaching his camera over a crewman's head and through the open door. His goal was to show the extent of the damage caused by the floodwaters, and an aerial shot from the helicopter did just that. He was photographing villagers evacuating the town of Bashira while battling the waist-deep floodwaters with a strong current, getting splashed by a passing truck. With the approach of a second truck, Idris jumped in the air and put the camera high above his head to photograph the strong wave as well as the reaction of the people. Now this helicopter Idris was on was actually hovering over a cemetery full of villagers taking refuge while anticipating them jumping onto the copter for a chance at being evacuated. Idris jumped off to get a better angle, but this image was captured when he headed back onto the copter, being pulled up single-handedly by a crewman. Idris describes this image as one of the saddest moments he has ever witnessed as a journalist. He noticed a group of mostly women and children who had set up camp along the road being violently attacked for their sacks of rice. In a downpour, he put a cover over his camera and crossed the roadway toward them. The men left, and a young girl caught his eye as she was crying while holding her younger sibling. One of the men had snatched her sack of rice, which was probably her only meal of the day. The cargo truck Idris was on would not stop, while men donated cooked rice, naan bread, and lentils to thousands of victims. If the truck stopped, it would be ambushed for the food. The desperation on this boy's face stood out as dozens of people chased the vehicle. After being forced out of a helicopter by crewmen who wanted to evacuate as many people as possible, Idris ended up marooned for 6 hours on a rooftop with a community of people who had taken refuge there. During his time spent waiting for a helicopter to return, he made images from inside the flooded house. Similarly, he was shooting through a window of a helicopter, which had gone out to distribute relief supplies to marooned residents. He saw a family taking refuge in the date trees, which spoke volumes to the severity of their situation. Idris made this image when floodwaters started to recede and families began to return to the town of Nashira. He went from house to house, sticking his head into doorways to try to find an image of what families were returning to. He came across this boy who was sitting amidst rugs, textiles, and other furnishings the family was able to recover, while floors of the house were still covered in mud. Idris has said that the story of Pakistan's floods have been the hardest for him to cover, both physically and emotionally. He has documented the Indian Ocean tsunami, deadly protests in Myanmar and Thailand, and the displacement in the Swat Valley, just to name a few. But he says he has never come across such desperation and tragedy, where the biggest wish of the Pakistani flood victims was for clean drinking water. It was with mixed emotions that Lee Solano covered the 5th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. He spent a better part of his day in the lower 9th Ward, at the site of the city's official commemoration ceremony. He photographed the procession of dignitaries as they carried a wreath to the spot of one of the worst levee breaches after Katrina. As the ceremony continued amidst a drizzle of rain, Lee went to look for more organic pictures of how residents were feeling and how they were spending their day. Along the flood wall of the levee, he discovered a healing ceremony being held by an African American religious group. People were praying and embracing each other. Flowers were thrown as the names were read of those who died in the disaster. Incense was being burned and used to bless the ground, while at the same time cleansing the participants of dead spirits taking hold in their body, according to the priestess conducting the ceremony. A few hours later, he shot a second line parade with local residents, a jazz band, dancers, and Mardi Gras Indians. At the parade's destination, Lee's friend Robert hung a wreath on a tree in front of the house where his mother and granddaughter died in the Katrina floods. After acknowledging how so many people lost so much in the storm, he exclaimed, "What's important is that we are alive and our neighborhood is alive." Jill Kitchener, Reuters.
At GE Capital, we're out there every day with clients like JetBlue, financing their fleet, sharing our expertise, and working with people who are changing the face of business in America. After 25 years in the aviation business, I kind of feel like if you're not having fun at what you do, then you've got the wrong job. My landing was better than yours. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was. Was not. Yes, it was. What do you think? Take one of the big ones out? Nah.